Welcome to another edition of webinar series on MBA Rendezvous, which we conduct with academic leaders and industry veterans. As we are all going through a major pandemic, which most of us have witnessed once during their lifetime, and governments across the world are trying to handle the situation in the best ways possible. Hence, to discuss on the public policy lessons from COVID-19, we have with us Dr. R.K. Mishra, Senior Professor, Director, and ONGC Subir Raha Chair Professor at the Institute of Public Enterprise. He is a graduate of International Management Program, SDA Bocconi, Milan, Italy. He has been a Fellow of British Council and Commonwealth Secretariat. He has had research stints at London Business School and MSS Paris. He has taught at the University of Bradford, United Kingdom, and was a visiting professor at MSS Paris, University of Technology, Mara, Malaysia, Faculty of Economics, University of Slovenia. He is a member of the UN Task Force on Standards of Excellence in Public Administration and Education. He has been a management consultant to several organizations, including DFID, Deloitte, Adam Smith Institute, ADB, and Center for Good Governance. He was associated with the UNDP project on macroeconomics of poverty reduction, carried out by RBI Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Banking and Research. Besides his other credentials, he is a great inspiration for students and faculty members who have had the chance to be mentored under his guidance. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Anshulji. Thanks a lot, Anshulji.
Most welcome, sir. So to start off, sir, if you could please help us understand the genre of public policy and the impact at the receiving it, that is, we, the public.
Thank you, Anshulji. Let me first, once again, thank you for your very kind words. And I think it's an inspiration to see a young person who is, on the media. I think we need such people who are young, quite dynamic. Now, genre of public policy is a very interesting question in the sense that there is a sea change in the genre. What was the earlier genre of public policy? The earlier genre of public policy was a public policy cycle. And that in cycle, there were problems, there are ideas, then there are evidences. Based on evidences, a draft policy used to be formed and that used to be tested, then that used to be implemented, and then that had to go through an evaluation procedure. And during the course of evaluation, mid-term course correction was also made. So it was a sort of full cycle. But you understand that these days the question is that, where are we talking about public policy? One thing, and what is the context of that public policy? And what actually we want to understand out of that. Now, one thing is very clear, that public policy in any part of the world, whether it is US, India, Germany, Japan, or a unit of the federal government, like our country, let's say Telangana, everywhere public policy has a purpose. And that purpose is to understand the problems that public faces, comes across, and then coming out with a solution which can last, in the long term. So it is very clear that public policy is different from short-termism. Public policy is a long-termism kind of thing. Public policy doesn't take into consideration caste, creed, religion, geography. It keeps in mind people of varied kinds. Public policy believes in diversity. Public policy believes in solving the problem and making the lives of people easier, simple, happy, and getting them rid of the procedural unnecessary problems so that they can save time and they can put their time to other things. You understand that we don't have much resources. A common person has limited resources. So those limited resources a common person should be putting to that kind of use which can satisfy him, his want, his necessity, and can enable him to fulfill his life dream and day-to-day thing. So this is a very big thing. I think this, when you talk of new genre of public policy, in the new genre of public policy, more so in our country, we find that that long-termism is not there. It is short-termism. And like we say, always say that you have dots, connect the dot, and then you get a trend. That is something very good, I think, in understanding a problem and for short term. But in the case of public policy, what is important is to create a trend and then put the dots. This is a very, very basic difference. So what happens, I think, in many cases like country like ours, we create a public policy when we need it. But that's not the thing, I think. A public policy should precede the requirement. A good public policy is such where you, the people in position, they think of the problem much in advance. They are, not reactive. They are, proactive kind of people. They understand, I think, through their experience. They understand, I think, through their intelligence. They understand what kind of problems will be coming, I think, and which people would face. And they would have, I think, those kind of problems, and side by side, they'll solve short-termism problems, but they'll also think of long-termism. They'll create, I think, outfits, they'll create groups, they'll create think tanks, they'll create institutions from where ideas, they can flow. So this new genre of public policy, unfortunately, what is happening is that new genre of public policy, we want quick solution. We want quick fixes. We don't want to evaluate. We don't do midterm correction. We don't do independent evaluation. And we are not ready to accept that we have done wrong. If you don't have these things, then that kind of public policy might have come with a very good purpose, but it will have implementational problems. One thing, it will not go well with people. Then it will create a hiatus, I think, between state and people, and the very purpose for which public policy, is done will not be there. One very simple example is that when we talk of public policy, what kind of public policy are we talking? And you see that in OECD countries now, they always say that they want evidence-based public policy. That's what our governments have also been saying, that they want evidence-based public policy. But the question there is that who is collecting the evidence? One thing. Number two, how many evidences you have? Number three, if you have all the evidences, who is looking and observing those trends? And if that is there, then who is creating that public policy? So the method that we have been talking of public policy here, I think it may come later also, is that you create a public policy without facts and figures. You create a public policy without enough data. Then what happens? That public policy does not give you result. On the other hand, I think we need public policy which is data-based. We need public policy which is the evidence-based. We need public policy which are model-based. We need public policy which is a discussion-based, I think. When these things are there, then what will happen? A good, concrete ideas will emerge, and there won't be many gaps in public policy. There won't be many holes. And what will happen is that the public policy will come, which people will hold in hands as, as something in the platter. This is how I think when you talk of the new genre of public policy, the new genre of public policy is different in our country. The new genre of public policy may be different, I think, in the US. I'll give you one or two examples over there, that in the US, when they create a public policy, they do high level of mathematical computations, and they use these very sophisticated models. They take quite some time before they put the policy on the ground. In our case, I think there may be some very good exceptions, but what happens is that we create public policy in a great hurry. We don't give much time to test it, and the result is that public policy, the kind of purpose it should serve, it is not serving. Before I move, I'll give one more thing, that in our country, when in 1956, we had set up Indian Statistical Institute, ISI. And Chinese, Prime Minister Zhou Enlai, I think, you are not born, I think, around that time. Chinese Prime Minister had come. I was very small child, so we were also lining up, and Hindi, Chini, Bhai, all those things he told. But Zhou Enlai was a very shrewd person. He spent as much time in Calcutta as much time he spent in Delhi. In Calcutta, he went to Indian Statistical Institute. And he asked them to make, presentations. And then he found that Indian statistical system was one of the most robust system in the world. And he was taken aback that how India could create such a good system. And when they wanted to, wrap it up, the ISI people, because they wanted to finish and do, I think, their work or go to homes, Chow En Lai told that I don't want to go. I want to spend another day in this institute to understand how things are going. So we had such a good system of data management around that country. Now these days in many schools, in government, we have been talking of business analytics, we are talking of data analytics, we have been talking of data security. Understand how much important it is now. With all that, India had an excellent system, one of the best systems in the world. Even in the field of agriculture, I think, what are the agricultural production and how data was being collected by Patwari, at the ground level in the villages, Patwari would collect and that data would come to district data would come, I think, to commissionerate and then to the state. So they would exactly know what were the problems of agriculture, how much they have produced, how much they have not been able to sell, how much crop damage has been there, what is the condition of a farmer, does he have any school for his children, does he have any hospital around, whether he has a kacha road or pakka road, everything was there. But let me tell you, I am very unhappy to tell you that we had a very good system. I don't know where that system went away. So I feel aggrieved, I feel unhappy that India, which had one of the best agricultural statistics in the world, today, what happened was that we created that system with good minds they created, but unfortunately people could not understand and they threw that as a waste paper basket. They thought that it was rubbish and they threw away in waste paper basket. Now creating that system is a very, very difficult thing. I hope you are in Delhi and you might have heard of Pranab Sen. Pranab Sen was a member of the Planning Commission and he speaks, I think, his mind here and there. And Pranab Sen himself, who was also chief statistician of India, he himself told that our system of data management requires much more to be done. This is the same Pranab Sen who spoke very high of ISI and data system which existed, not now, so many years back without computer, without keeping the back files and all that. Now we have high-speed computers, we have so much of memory. With all that, you don't have things. So when it comes to public policy requires good people. Public policy requires investment in education of those people. Public policy requires constant research. Public policy requires, getting evidence, collected. Public policy requires comparison with the other countries. Public policy requires institutions, very good institutions. It requires institutional structure. So I think, new genre, which is not that good in my view, but new genre can become as much productive because we have to be very positive. If you have not been able to do, you can always do. But the only thing is that you have to concentrate, you have to work, you have to understand the importance, you have to appreciate that thing, and you have to empower people who are in that task. If we do that, then what will happen is that we will create a system of data which will give enough inputs for public policy, not only at the center, going down to states, I think, going down to regions, then going down to states, going down to districts, going down to villages, going down to patwaris. Whole chain, I think, it's a question of an entire chain. You can't go to the top of a tree without climbing the tree, from its roots. So if we have to improve public policy and strengthen our news array, there is good hope we can certainly achieve, because now we have very good youngsters. They are very well trained people. They have, high degree of excellence in mathematics and computers. They have, good means of transportation. In fact, we did some work in Andhra on Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and we went to 5,000 villages. Our people, they trudged, they went by walk. But now things are improving, I think. And with all that kind of thing, you have aerial surveys now these days. You can do aerial surveys, one thing. There are many ways, I think, now people can sit and they can give you the data. But we have to look, I think, with much more seriously. This question that you have raised is a question This requires greater attention, greater application of mind, greater attention at the level of the politicians, greater attention at the level of policymakers, greater attention in the mind of people who are engaged in this task.
Wonderful, wonderful, sir. Wonderful. So futuristic vision is paramount, and backbone for that is data and evidence. That is what I can get. Wonderful, sir. So let me get into the specifics, sir, of this COVID era now. So while we are speaking about public policy, why are public policies under attack in this prevailing COVID era, sir? What are your views on that, please?
But what I was submitting, one is that we make policy after facing a problem.
Right.
So our country's major thing is that we believe, in a reactive mode of doing things, not proactive mode. See, we don't have good historians. We don't have good economists. Getting a degree is different. Getting positions are different. Getting chairmanship of committee and getting a portfolio in the ministry is different. But, people who are good in any area, they are not bothered about other things. We don't have historians of when our country had faced this Spanish plague in 1920. What did we learn out of that? When we had faced the 1929 depression, what did we learn out of that? So the question in our country that we don't have, again, I would submit that we don't want to solve the problem from long term. We want to solve the problem for today. And then we want to sleep. And we think that we have solved the problem, but the problem becomes more bigger next day when you get up. Like a monster, the problem is looking at us that either you solve me or I'll eat you away. So when you think of COVID, couple of things are there. You have raised a very interesting question. One is that, did we think of health of people in our country? We think that people are very cheap. We never care, for the lives of people. You can even think of insurance companies and all that, the way they remunerate the people who die in air crash or road accidents, how they are remunerated, how their families are taken care of. And see, in our country, you want to give something and you want to get away. So we had a first time a health policy, health for all in 2001. But that was a policy on paper. Health for all. What are the definition of all? How they would reach out all the people, what was the plan to have different kind of diseases. For instance, we are not able to we have not overcome TB, tuberculosis. We have not overcome malaria still. We have not come with the children diseases. We have not come with the heart diseases. We have not come with the liver disease. We have not come with the lung diseases. We have not been able to solve the even water problem that we are taking water in many parts of our country. Whereas we have this bottled water. On the one hand, there are people who don't have water at all, and the water is, you can understand, is 1,500 feet below, 2,000 feet below. So when you extract that water, then it comes with fluid. When you take that fluid, it goes in the body, it affects eyes, it affects nose, it affects teeth, it affects the lungs, it affects our liver. Now, all these things are there. Our concept of health management has been very poor. Let me tell you frankly that we say that we are a country, but we have not solved the problems at the country level. We have left problems at the individual. If I am a Hamali or I am a beggar, I solve my problem as a beggar. If I am a minister, I solve my problem as a minister. If I am a poor person, I solve that way. We never thought in terms of diseases. We never connected those diseases to different category of people in terms of their earnings, in terms of their land holdings, in terms of their education, in terms of their occupation. Unless you do it. Now the COVID problem now in Hyderabad, I understand we pay 90,000 rupees per day to some hospitals. Now you can understand, I don't want to go, you can understand that if people have to pay 90,000, then who is that person who's paying? If you are from very well, this family, if you have insurance, etc., okay, but what will happen to a poor person who has not seen 9,000 rupees also? He'll sell his cattle, he'll sell his field, he'll sell his scooter, and he'll pay. Otherwise, they will not give the dead body or living body, they won't allow you to get out of the hospital. So major problem is when you talk of COVID, Did we ever imagine? Who stopped us imagining? We are pushing so much of time in politics. We talk so much in our country. We have so many laws, plethora of laws. India is a country where we have maximum number of laws in the world. In the world, we have maximum number of laws. And these courts, then governments, they fight one against the other. And courts, 85% problems are by the government in the courts and for the government in the courts. The problem is that we never thought that what are the critical diseases. One thing. Number two, what is the history of diseases? And you can always understand that there is a pattern in life. The pattern is we are born and people are born and they die. There is a pattern. Nobody can escape from the death. People die, I think. But how the death can take place? Can death take place in a very good way when people don't fall sick? They live for the entire span of life for which they are born. That they don't depend on somebody, for food and for money and I think, for shelter. That they feel proud that they were born in a country on the earth and they have lived meaningfully on the earth. So we are not ready, I think, this thing. Problem came and then we started thinking. And our approach of solving problem is piecemeal. That's a very important thing. Our approach is solving the problem in the piecemeal, one thing. Number two, since we are a democracy, we want votes also. So our eyes are in the votes. How we don't want to take a stern and very, very difficult decision. Then number three, we believe that problems will come and will go away on their own. But we never know that, no, this problem had come, it would not go on their own. I think it required more harder efforts. So, we are not ready. I would say that for this pandemic, we were not ready. One. Number two, the amount of money we are spending on public health is pitiable. Whereas I think in a country like UK, US and all that, they spend a huge money. We are hardly spending 2%. And in the 2% also the kind of a medical education we are giving. In medical education, at one time we didn't have, when cholera came, we didn't have the word cholera, which was not being taught to our MBBS and MD people. Now we have not taught our people what is, pandemic, what is a disaster, I think, kind of thing we have not taught. So what happened when it came, our doctors, they were not ready to understand. They didn't know what kind of disease it was, what kind of virus it was, what kind of mutation it had, how this virus can go to different country and can register and can live, I think, in those countries, how it can go across the rich and poor, across wintry countries, which has winter and which had summer. We had no idea. So those who are in the field of education, like I am in managerial education or somebody is in medical education, they should try to do some research. Unfortunately, our boys and girls are very intelligent. Any professor and any minister or any secretary of education should understand that our boys, once you give the book, they can read it faster than me and them. What is important is that you tell them how to think of a new thing. Like we are doing hackathon. What new more diseases can come in India? We have not been able to solve even the disease of the TD. The TDs, they come and take our entire crop. They are coming and they are going. And you say, what can we do? That I think is not a good answer. We should understand one thing, we are a tropical country. What are the diseases in this tropical country? One thing, then prepare a matrix and see how these diseases can affect in terms of resources, in terms of, location, because Bombay, Hyderabad, Calcutta, Delhi will be better than I think, some village, I think, which is on the border of Pakistan or some village which is on the border of Myanmar and all that. We have left out, I think, our rural areas totally. So when you talk of medical and health, we don't have in the basic education about sex. Sex education is not that is a very basic thing. So when you talk of health policy, we talked of 2001 health for all. Again, we changed this policy in 2001. But that was more, I think, a policy, where we gave lip sympathy. But the kind of institutions we have created, yes, we have done something now. We have got All India Institute of Medical Sciences. We have created in each state. But you can understand that New Zealand, which is a country, and its population is 40 lakhs, 4 million. Hyderabad population is 9 million. So if New Zealand can have 5 AIMS type institution in 40 lakhs, how many AIMS should be there only in Hyderabad only? I'm not talking about Telangana. We want to do our problem, Kapoor Sahab, our problem is one. That we want to solve problem, but we want to solve problem in very, very small measure. In Telugu, we say chinna chinna. We don't want to have a macro view. We don't want to do things in a very big way. Whatever you say, you may like this, like Chinese, but Chinese, they killed all the bees, makhi. सारे मक्खी मारा आंदोलन, चाहे प्रोफेसर हो, चाहे मिनिस्टर हो, डॉक्टर, हर एक को लगा दिया मक्खी मारो. So Makhi went away. Like that in our country, India is a big country. In big country, those who are managing this country from any party, I have no party affiliation. Those who are administering this country in IAS or in civil services, those who say that we are representative of democratic, we are democratic people representing democracy, they should understand this country is a big country. We need big minds. We need big solutions. We need quick solutions. We need speed. We need justice. We need to care. Anybody who is born in India is an Indian. Therefore, whether he's poor, rich, you can't say you are poor. I don't care for you. This will not work. Then you will not have a happy country. He is born now. You make him happy by giving a job to him, by taking care of him, by giving education to him, by giving a skill to him. Why do you say you are a poor person? You are not a poor person. God has given man. You can understand today. All this capital, whether it is with the Ambanis, it is with the Reddy's, it is with the Microsoft, man, capital is no use unless man comes and converts that capital into a visible product. Then value gets added. Therefore, I am very particular about one thing, that we must take care of the health of people. They are very precious resources. We need to have human development that is more important than the capital development in our country. With this capital and a great, I think, human force, I think, we can change the scenario that we have in India.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Very candid, very frank answer there. Start from the first principles and then find the solutions to the problems. Wonderful, sir. So let me come across to certain improvements which would have been done during this pandemic. So deterrent policies in early stages proved very dreadful for the people to come forward for testing. Hence, what could have been done in a better way there?
This is a very good thing, very interesting question. One is the communication between people and those who are looking at this problem was weak. Though Prime Minister, he came on TV, he spoke a number of times, maybe I think, but what happened was that it didn't sink, I think, the way it should have sunk, I think, it didn't sink even through press. Even through media, I think, it didn't sink, I think. It was more a communication failure. If you ask me frankly, it was a total communication failure. One. Number two, it was also a tactical failure. The tactical failure was that we should have gone to the houses of individuals. They were already afraid. Instead of, asking them to come, like what we say in Quran, we say, if Muhammad doesn't come, to mountain doesn't come to Muhammad, Muhammad goes to mountain. It was something like that. People were afraid. They didn't have resources. They could not have gone to district hospital. So you have seen the problem of migrants. Now Government of India has been thinking that they have an annual survey of migrants. Now you have got the labor office. Now they are doing perpetually same work they have been doing again and again. They are doing work. I don't say they are not doing work. They are doing. But there is no newness. What you have done once, twice, thrice, that becomes ritual. Therefore, in my position, I should see what is that more I should have been doing now. What are new problems? Now, what happened was that all people, they didn't go and canvass, I think, at the unit level. They should have gone to villages, they should have gone to houses, and they should have prepared a list, I think. If we would have done that, then there was no question of what is known as shutdown.
Right.
Ultimately we have come to the same thing. Ultimately you have come to shut down. You have told that no, everyone go, this house where there is a patient, that house, we are secluding. You could have done that earlier also. If we had done that earlier, that would have been a very much better thing. Because had we done that earlier, then the economy has been very badly bruised. Our Prime Minister also told that Jahan hai, तो जिंदगी क्या है, दैट जहान है, तो जहान होना भी इम्पोर्टेंट है। अगर आप कैसे रोकेंगे सारी एक्टिविटीज को? अभी हमने क्या कर दिया है, अभी देख रहे हैं कई एक्सीडेंट्स हो रहे हैं। मेरे जो फीलिंग है वो ये है कि जब आप इन मशीन्स को रोक देते हैं, और आप देखें, आप तो और हम दोनों पढ़े लिखे थोड़े बहुत हैं, तो शटडाउन के बाद में फैक्ट्री को चलाना बहुत आसान नहीं होता। इट टेक्स टाइम टू ब्रिंग इट बैक टू लाइफ। तो हमने क्या कर दिया, शटडाउन कर दिया। अब शटडाउन करने के बाद में these aeroplanes now, you started flying these aeroplanes, they had some problems, I think. When we did shut down, then getting confidence in the mind of air commuters, that is not there. Planes are there, but they are not going, I think. That's another thing. Third thing is that you cut yourself off, I think. Fourth, I think there are many things like, there are many industries, I think, the migrant problem is one thing now. Migrants, they're running helter-skelter. Everyone knows, I think, and people know, I think. If you ask me frankly, I have done some study on India's division when Pakistan and India. So what happened, those people who, settled down after the division, you go and meet them, they still tell their stories that they have come through very, very difficult period, very, very difficult time. They have done very, very hard work. Now what happens is that here also, many, these people at lower level, migrants, when 90% migrants are migrants who live on one or two skills. They are not highly skilled professionals. So what happened that these migrants, they had to, they had to pay a lot, I think. So I talked about policy. When you had to have this COVID policy and you wanted to shut down, you should have thought that when you shut down and shutting down, you should have imagined what will happen if I shut down, then people, those who are migrants, where they'll live, where they'll go, how they can go to their states, what will happen to their schooling. If they don't have money, then how they'll buy the tickets. If there are no roads, how they'll cross, I think, that river. There are several things, I think. So it's a good thing. But what happens is, that's what I was submitting, that we never imagine. We want to take a step. Please read today's Indian Express. And I don't agree with that, but read that. Some policies that we did. See, we are not in the times of Muhammad Tughlaq. That you think that you announce a policy, you also understand, yes, you are in power. You are, a public policy maker. But understand that when you make a policy, what is the impact of that policy on the people? How, whether they'll be inconvenienced, one thing, whether they're deprived of their job too, whether they can go to market or not, whether they run out of cash, therefore, whether they can't go to doctor. Now you can understand now in pandemic, another interesting thing is that hospitals have become pandemic hospitals, and those who have heart, liver, lung, and these kind of diseases, they are not even diabetes. And some people, they have got that blood transfusion problem. They are not being attended to for days together. And some people, they died because, and rightly, I think, because they had an instruction. And yes, between the two kind of thing, this man who was having oxygen problem should have been attended first. But what I am saying is, it's not the question of first and second. It's the question of thinking. What would be the result of my policy when I apply it? Whether it will, create problems for people, it will solve their problem. And if I think there is, on the margin, if some people are inconvenienced, yes, still we can implement the policy. But if lots of people are inconvenienced, that is one thing. And we didn't think lots of repercussions of the public policy, lots of repercussions of the public policy. You can understand that today, if I don't get a salary for 1 month, it will be difficult for me to live next month. I can openly admit. Now you can understand that people who don't have savings, how many months I think they can, do that. Impact of that, you see that these migrants, they went, that they don't want to come back now. Our construction industry, people have constructed houses halfway down, they are at that level only. Buildings are like that only, roads are like that only. Agriculture fields, you don't have people. You don't have people in the industry to work. You don't have people in the medical hospitals to clear the medical waste, I think. You can understand. Now, in a way, it is good that we have understood for the first time the role of these migrants and poor people. Otherwise, we thought in big cities and big positions that they're nothing, they're fixed. See, they're working, we're giving money to them. No, no, we are wrong. We are not giving money to them. They're giving their lives to you and you are giving some money to them in exchange. It doesn't mean that you are a superior human being and those people are worse than animals. No. Now we have understood that they are not animals. We have understood that without them we can't work. We have understood that they are also human beings. We understood that a good human being should treat other human being also, in the same way. So you can understand this kind of, disequilibrium which was there in the society. That disequilibrium we have been exposed, I think, with that disequilibrium. So,
right. So you mentioned about this home isolation and home quarantine. Let me discuss this in detail with you now. So this home quarantine policies got executed late. And by that time, the public was confused. There was a fear that was prevailing. What could have been done better into the home quarantine policies which the government implemented?
That's what I was submitting, that government, one thing, it was fixing, this square, the peg round in the round hole. It
Right.
was simply this was our country's public policy problem is sequencing.
Right.
What to start when. So we start, we take the wrong end of the stick and we start there where we should have finished. So what happens here also, as I was submitting, we should have individual housing as the unit. And there, when individual housing as a unit, then they had not to come out one thing. Then you could have easily explained to them that there is no problem, like SAB is there or like testing. Even I think government should have done 2-3 things. Government should have funded, their this testing for COVID, which is 2,000, 3,000 people. Another very interesting thing, Kapoor sir, is that we should have bought a COVID policy for everyone in India. See, one thing in our country, we differentiate between big and small. Bhai, life to sabki hai yaar. Are koi aadmi, suppose somebody is big, we'll allow him to die. No. If he's a big, then we have to take more care because he's creating jobs for us. And here resources, I think, we can't allow him to just go away, leave the earth. No. Why can't we do? There are some things like everyone has to take air. Anyone in the world country, whether it is a lion or it is, a big man, everyone has to take air. Everyone has to take water. Now this pandemic is there. Everyone, we should have a insurance, I think, for everyone. Why are we leaving this small thing? You have a budget, you say that you had this special package.
Right.
Of 20 lakh crore.
Right.
Could you not have spent the small money? Now this money, had you spent, where this money would have gone? It would have been transferred from one government fund to another insurance company. It would have only gone there one. And those people who were diseased, they were not to think. Today, I also shudder to think if anybody admits in hospital, from where shall I pay? For any hospitalization in Hyderabad for 9 to 10 days, you have to spend 8 to 10 lakh rupees.
Right.
8 to 10 lakh rupees is not a small money. I think nobody keeps the money as, cash. One thing, you have to sell your house, land or some property, then you can pay the money. So the whole thing is that this quarantine and these things, if I give an example, the first person who landed from abroad in India, who brought this pandemic, if we had stopped and put him in quarantine there, things would have been different. One thing, if quarantine are there, then quarantine conditions are very difficult for travelers. Those who have come from abroad, what we say is that you come and we'll put you in quarantine and you have to pay. And they are shown a list of hospitals, AB, DC and all that, and they have to pay money. Now you can understand that those who are coming in Vande Bharat flight, they are already in problems, many of them. They are leaving their jobs or they are coming, taking some leave and coming here. They have to buy ticket at a very, very high price.
Right.
I understand. Now with all those kinds of things, you are asking them that they should go and check in, in a hotel which is attached or connected to hospital. Already that man has no money. People are very keen to see him. You could have done, home quarantine over there itself that, okay, we'll create, I think, these kind of conditions, I think. So what we have done, we have created very big hospitals we have created now. Stadiums we have converted. Instead of that, I think, home quarantine should have been the first condition. But we missed out on that. And we allowed this problem to get gigantic proportions. And now this is costing people. Many of them, those who have, this, they don't want even to say that they have this because they're afraid that they will not be able to bear the cost. So let us not talk of vaccine. The first thing is let us give insurance policy.
Right.
Free insurance policy to everyone. Whether it is Ambani or it is R.K. Mishra. Ambani doesn't need, okay, he may throw in West, but I need it, sir.
Right.
I need it.
Right.
Because when I have that insurance policy by people at home, if all of us have insurance people, they know that if anything happens, this is the thing. Insurance policy is there, okay, hospitalization there, okay, money will come from that. They have some assurance. So you are leaving people at the mercy, I think, of the market.
Correct.
You can't leave people at the mercy of the market. Market has to be controlled by the state. Here we need a big state intervention. And buying an insurance policy and giving to people is not an expensive thing at all, in my view.
Right. Perfect. Sir, we briefly touched on the topic of economy, which is in doldrums right now. Let me discuss this further with you, please. So in the absence of a vaccine, what public policy can create a balance of managing both corona and economy?
You asked $1 million question and we come back. Now what will happen in India when the vaccine comes, then we'll start thinking of distribution.
Right.
Now they knew 6 months back that vaccine will take 18 months time. 6 months they have already lost it. Under 8 months also, when vaccine comes, then they'll see. Why can't they plan it right now? That from where vaccine will come, where we have in post office, our postal system is the best in the world. Our postal, they are only, they are postmen, they don't get big money. But you see, your dog comes to you, your dog gets distributed to you. There is no loss of, your postal, things. Now, given that the concept of hub and spoke should come. And right now they should think that which will be how many hubs will be there in the state, how many spokes will be there in the state, what will be the role of primary health centers, what will be the role of district health centers, what will be the role of policymakers over there, who will go and inspect, I think, whether your supply chain, it is more a question of supply chain management.
Right.
Now we have been talking about supply chain management. If China can do supply chain management, Russia can do supply chain management, France can do supply chain management, why India cannot do? Our people have gone and they are very great engineers and doctors. They are doing the best job in these countries. So don't you think that those who are in countries like you and me who are left, are we not good? Are we bad? If you have not gone and settled down abroad. They are good and we are also good. We are good here, they are good there. Right. So now they think, Anshul Kapoor Sahab, now they should have a blueprint for distribution. Still now they are talking. They will have meetings between minister, chief minister and all that. Where is that blueprint? People are not interested in those meetings, sir. You do those meetings for yourself. People want to see what the blueprint. Now the confidence that has been shaken up, people are afraid of this pandemic. People have run out of money. People don't know what will happen. People don't know when it will go. There are different kind of things. Some people, 1 year, 2 years, 6 months, 8 months, all these have been taken. Some people are saying that another pandemic may come. Because, when bad times are there, then things which are not right also, people spread those things also. Now, given all that, if you want to give confidence to people, you tell them what is your distribution strategy. You tell them that when this comes, you can go there, like Aadhaar card, you can go and get Aadhaar card from this agency. You tell me if it comes, which hospital I have to go, which store I have to go and buy, what will be the price of that, because sometimes we are telling 5,000, sometimes we are telling 2,000, sometimes we are telling 280 rupees, we don't even know the price. There also comes the role. I personally believe that this medicine should be given free of cost to people. It has been to be given free of cost because people have worked and people are giving taxes. And out of those taxes, government should bear this expenditure because those who are poor, etc. Even a beggar, when he buys tea, he gives tax because there is a tax on on the tea that is being used in this kappa. Now even beggar is contributing. Now with all that kind of thing, now is it not our moral duty that we take care of anybody who's in the road or who's in a house, that there will be a free distribution and it will reach there and doctors will go and doctors will inject things over there, because I understand the process will be different now. Russian medicine is coming. Now they have given the first dose. Now second dose after 28 days. Then third dose we don't know. What is the full course we don't know. How many times you can understand in this pandemic, one great problem that has come is that this staff which is helping medical doctors, supporting staff, they are not there now because all of them, they are busy in this pandemic. So even if you want somebody to come and do inject, you don't have people, nurses, etc., to come to houses and inject that because they are not available. They have left their places. They have gone to cities or districts. They have left and they have gone somewhere. Now this is a problem. Therefore, high time is there that government might, anybody, I think our administrators, they can be absolved of any problem because yes, one can agree. But now you tell, you have got enough time to prepare a blueprint. Nobody has stopped you to prepare blueprint. You have to come out with supply chain management kind of thing, and that must be a foolproof kind of thing. And that must be get completely financed by the state and central government or the insurance agency. That I think if they don't do that, then I think it will be playing truant. I think truant. I think truant with people. Free insurance policy is a must. Free, I think, distribution at home and checkups at home. A poor person can't go in the night and he's dying. He can't be taken. I think So these kind of instruments which are there, like oxygen cylinders, is there. I think hospital beds are very small in number, and therefore I think in each house, this is a good thing which you have asked. In future, I think we should understand that this is not going to be over. In each house, there must be some quarantine facility. There must be an oxygen cylinder over there. There must be some basic, tablets and like vitamin tablets, etc. should be there. And if possible, this is very important. I think why it has gone away from Germany, Japan, and these countries, because their income levels are very high. And you will agree that as incomes go up, our dietary habits also undergo a change. So poor people will be taking only rice, roti, and something, piyaz, onion. But suppose I earn 5 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees per month, then what will happen? I'll have little this, that, I'll have some green vegetable, I will have some salad over there, I'll take a banana or something. My food habits also change. So we must see that our food habits also change, which will help our youngsters, those in the age group of 5 to 20. I think, they'll grow, they'll be happy, strong-bodied people. They'll contribute more to the country. After this body is there, out of this body, I'll only work now. So why you want me to be frail, sick, and lying on the bed? You don't create that kind of genre of people. No, create healthy people. Create people who may not, indulge in luxuries, but who get essentials. At least understand the needs of young people, understand the need of a child, understand the need of a lady who is carrying, understand the need of an old man in 60s and all that, understand the need of a sick person. You have to think of that. You have to have social security system. One pandemic has given us a big lesson that everything will left to people. And governments, they took up, some small things. No, that is not governance, that is not administration. You take up major jobs and see, like education, like health, like employment, like free mobility of people, like transportation, like, relief of people from these floods, the kind of floods which are coming in different countries, people are day and night, and in one flood, everything goes away. These are basic things, I think. 70 years It's a good time. We have and good institutions. Luckily, we have good constitution. We have good people in our country. We have very good geography in our country. We are a country where you have all kind of weather and all kind of food is available. I think our people are on the whole good. But now hard time has come that our politicians and our policy makers, they have to work hard. They have to lead. They have to take up the role not only of democratic leader. Democracy is one thing, but becoming people's man is different thing. They are good. They are in democracy, but they should also have the faith, resounding faith of people in this democracy and those who govern this democracy.
Very nice. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Wonderful. That brings me to my last question, sir. Though we have already touched upon this topic a bit, wherein you suggested about hub and spoke and distribution at home. So news on vaccine is still heralding. Hence, what could be a proper execution policy for injecting our huge population of 130 crore Indians? What do you suggest on this?
That's what I was saying. I'm happy to tell you that Bharat Biotech is being run by one of the students of IP.
Okay.
So he was my student here in 1979.
Wow.
He used to come on Lambretta scooter.
Okay.
Now he is a Padma Bhushan, but he was the man who would be the first person to come before class time, and he would be the last person to go. And that was his interest. And he was in electronic. We have got ECIL here, Electronics Corporation of India. He was worker there. But I think I always used to see him. He was lost in dreams. So he set up a company and all that. I don't want to give the entire story, but now they are working. So I'm happy. We have got enough number of institutions. So, Anshulji, one thing we have to ensure, let us not go down to the rock bottom in this country. Corruption should not enter this, this COVID and the distribution of medicine. I don't have many, examples, but I understand that even in this pandemic also, people have made big money by creating shortage of oxygen cylinders. Right? They have charged, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 rupees. There are some organizations also, they have come and they are giving free cylinders also. But you can understand that this can go only to those who read what is a free cylinder. Suppose I'm an uneducated person. I'm in a village lying somewhere. How shall I get? I don't know. Can't read English. I can't read Hindi. I can't read Telugu. I'm an illiterate. It is something like I was in a government committee in Delhi. And in that committee, the secretary was saying very interesting thing. That, sir, we have got Rain Basera in Delhi and we are telling people that they can come and live in Rain Basera. Then I told them, how are you intimating communication problems? Sir, we are English. If they had known English, do you think that they would come to Rain Basera? You are, one thing, you speak English to me or somebody is very good, but better are those fellows, you are English speaking, you are hitting them twice. They are hungry, they don't have a place to sleep. They are going to Gurudwara and the Gurudwara is giving them a place. Your Rain Basera is not giving them a place. In Gurudwara, nobody is asking who is your father, mother, what is your caste, do you have 1 rickshaw or 5 rickshaws? You come and eat and you sleep there. Your communication is how why Gurudwaras have become successful. Why everybody goes to Gurudwara, nobody reads, I think, your Rain Basera people. So government should not think that because they are in government, whatever they say, people know it. No. People don't know, I think. What is government? I think, one thing, it will take a lot of time for government to know that people know government. They have to reach out to the government by good deeds. When you reach out to the last person who is uneducated, who is blind, who can't raise his hand even for, alms, and whose mouth is open for something for you to put in mouth, if you do that, he'll understand what is government. Otherwise, why should he understand what is Delhi, what is Jaipur, what is Telangana? He's not concerned. He's born and he will die. Somebody gives food, he thinks very grateful. He go to Gurudwara, sleep there. He gets some chapati, I think hot chapati and some hot food, kada prasad. He gets and he comes back. Therefore, I think one thing very important in this country, our major problem is that corruption comes in everything.
Right.
And distribution of medicine should be corruption free. And we should take stringent measures to create scarcity of medicine, and who corner the medicine and do start the black marketing in medicine. We must, I think, give them such a punishment that people should forget in the country that there is anything like corruption and black marketing. Because they'll play with the lives of people for some money. Because in our country, you can agree that we have gone down to the bottom. I understand. I know one thing, that one of my colleagues had this jaundice, and there was a medicine of 20 rupees. He bought it, and that was a spurious medicine. And that 20 rupees medicine he took, and the result was that he was in the bed for 2 months. He came out of death because this jaundice. There is an extent. If it goes below 4% in the blood, then there is a death element which creeps in. So 20 rupees, this pharmacy person, for 20 rupees, he didn't care for the life of a person. What is happening in this country? Are we made of iron, or are we made of flesh or blood? You'll get your money, but why do you kill people and get money out of that killing? This is not good, I think. No one thing, don't. And if I'm uneducated, don't give me spurious medicine so I may die. This is not fair for those who are educated. I think in medical business, doctors, health workers, everyone should take a vow, and these pharmacists should take a vow that they'll be giving it. Then they are talking about some order that they'll give to corona warriors, that will give to children, they'll give to women which are carrying. That's not important. What is important is, as I just suggested, your supply chain. Your supply chain management has to be strengthened. In supply chain management, one thing that can help us is the involvement of the students.
Okay.
If we involve the high school students who are 9th, 10th, because I see one thing very clearly, our younger boys have got some feeling for human beings. They have some feeling for animals also.
Right.
They don't they give life and people more importance than the money. He'll even save his money and he'll spend his money, pocket money, on poor people. You have seen in many cases in India and in the UK also, one boy, he gave his savings of 11,000 pounds to Prime Minister Johnson. We must involve these youngsters, because these youngsters are our hope for future.
Correct.
These high school boys, they'll run this country for many more years. And if we give them a lesson of humanity them now, then you can understand that they'll have good education, they'll take care of their parents, and they'll take care of their elderly people, neighbor, or even I think those, they'll take care of animals, because animals are also human beings. They'll take care of these trees and not mercilessly cutting or throwing, spitting on them. Youngsters are our hope. Youngsters have values. Youngsters are, in my view, very, very honest. The second thing can be women. If we can, because because people like you and me, we are on our jobs. But in India, still out of 50% women, 50% men, 50% women, only 10% of them are working, the rest they are free. And women is much more considerate and kind than men. A woman will not differentiate between her child and the child of neighbor or somebody who is asking for some food. She'll go and give. So we must involve these guys. The high time has come in the supply chain and youngsters, because youngsters have got lot of energy and a lot of will to achieve the targets. They're target oriented, and they don't make complaints and then don't depend on government. The transport is not there, my health is not good, I'm hungry, why I should do? They don't ask this question. So this is a good number. As our education minister, our education minister, who is saying that we have got 36 crore students in our country. Out of 36 crores, we have got about 15 crore high school students. If we can take this 5 crores to 10 crores high school and they in the university going students, these 10 crores can easily take care of, if you take 100 people, that goes to 100 crores. Then these retired army people are there.
Right.
Retired army people are the most honest people. For some money, they gave their lives. And they are the most peaceful people who are remaining in villages wherever they are not getting problems. They are changing the lives of villagers also through their own hard work because they understand the value of work and the dignity of labor. Why the country is suffering? Country is suffering because you don't dignity. We can't wash our own room. We can't take our own glass of water. We want everything to be done because I have money. Therefore, my person who is helping me only should put water in my glass. This is ridiculous. I mean, bottle is there, glass is there. You can't put water in your this glass. Why do you want that person who is helping you to come? This is not the way I think. So, army people, I think, who are retired, they are of great help. These children between the age group of, let's say 13, 14 to 20, 25, they are very, 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 great help. Women, I think, which are at least about 10 to 20 crores, I think, they are very good help. So we have 30, 40 crore people. One on one can come, in fact. And if you want to increase your GDP, give them some money. They'll give it back to you. But your GDP is coming down, no? Your GDP has come down to 8%, 6%. Monetize the work of labor who is working, give them the money that they work. Don't take any, what you call begar from people. You tell them that you are going, this is just, I think, this is just a courtesy money to you, I think, one thing. This is just an honorarium for your, involvement, I think. Then you'll see one thing, that if you give some money to children who are 15, 25, it will change it because the child will know what is the importance of work. Through his work, he can earn money. Then he has not to depend on Microsoft men who may be father. No, why should I depend on my father? Bhai? I don't want to depend on my father. I will help, but I want to earn my own money. We'll make entrepreneurs in this country. We'll make people who will be independent of government jobs. It's not a good thing to hear that for 2 lakh government jobs, 2 crore people are appearing. Is it a good news to hear? In my view, not a good news. What do you want to convey to people? That in this country we are jobless. Why we are jobless? We don't want such government jobs. We are bringing a bad name to youngsters by saying that. Give them the value of money. If they earn 1 rupee, I can tell you tomorrow they'll earn 1 lakh rupee. Because they have known how to earn money through rightful means, not by corrupt practices, not by deceiving, cheating, becoming Nirav Modi or becoming Malia and these kind of things. Because technology is also giving rise to big frauds. They'll earn, our children will understand the value of money, they'll understand the human feelings, and human values will come in their education. That is what we are missing, I think.
Right, sir. Very valuable, candid, and insightful thoughts by sir there. Thank you, sir, for taking out time today and speaking to us while sharing the lessons on public policy from COVID-19. It has surely given a food for thought for all of us. And I hope we all get out of this pandemic very soon. Thank you once again, sir, for taking out time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I feel energized after seeing you so much.
Thank you, sir.